The glass shattered before anyone screamed. A wine bottle slipped from Vivian Cade's fingers and exploded against the marble floor, red liquid splashing across the hem of the maid's uniform like blood. Music stopped. Conversations froze. Dozens of eyes turned. "Oh, for God's sake!" Vivian snapped, staring down at the mess as if the maid herself had broken. "Do you people wake up every day planning to embarrass me?" The maid didn't move. She didn't flinch. She simply bent down, calmly, and began picking up the shards with bare hands. "Don't touch that," Vivian said sharply. "Are you trying to get blood on my floor, too?" "I'll clean it," the maid replied quietly. Her voice was steady. Too steady. Vivian narrowed her eyes. "What's your name again?" The maid paused for half a second. "Amara." "Well, Amara," Vivian said, loud enough for the guests nearby to hear. "Next time you want attention, try being interesting instead of clumsy." Laughter rippled through the room. Soft, polite, cruel. Amara nodded once, lowered her head, and continued cleaning the glass as if nothing had happened. No one in that room noticed her hands shaking. No one noticed the way her jaw tightened. And absolutely no one suspected that the woman kneeling on the marble floor could end every life in that room with a single decision. Because at that moment, to them, she was just a maid. They were wrong. 3 months earlier, Amara Cole stood alone in a private elevator, staring at her reflection in the mirrored walls. Her hair was pulled back tight. Her clothes were plain. Her face was bare. No jewelry. No watch. Nothing that hinted at who she really was. The elevator descended silently. She exhaled slowly, the kind of breath people took before stepping into fire. When the doors opened, the Ravenscourt estate stretched out before her. Massive, cold, perfect. Everything polished. Everything controlled. A man in a black suit approached. "Name?" "Amara Cole." He scanned a tablet, then nodded. "Follow me." As they walked, Amara took everything in. The cameras, the blind spots, the way staff avoided eye contact, the way security watched everyone but the owner. At the far end of the hall, a woman stood waiting. Mid-40s. Perfect posture. Sharp eyes softened only by fatigue. "You're late," the woman said. "I'm sorry," Amara replied. The woman studied her for a moment, then sighed. "I'm Mrs. Hahn, head of housekeeping. You'll answer to me." "Yes, ma'am." Mrs. Hahn lowered her voice. "Rule number 1. You don't speak unless spoken to. Rule number 2. You never look guests in the eye. Rule number 3. She hesitated. You endure." Amara nodded. "Good," Mrs. Hahn said. "Then you'll survive." That night, Amara lay on a narrow bed in the staff quarters, staring at the ceiling. The room smelled faintly of bleach. Somewhere down the hall, someone cried quietly into a pillow. She closed her eyes and reminded herself why she was there. Helix Meridian Group didn't gamble. Not with money. Not with people. And definitely not with reputation. The hospitality expansion deal on the table was worth $180 million. On paper, it was flawless, profitable, clean, legal, but something felt wrong. Staff turnover was unusually high. Entire management teams vanished between audits. Cash flows aligned too perfectly in places where chaos should exist. The reports were clean. Reality rarely was. When Amara suggested undercover verification, the board laughed. When she insisted, they argued. When she said she'd do it herself, they went silent. "You don't need to prove anything." One of them told her, "You've built this company from nothing. You've earned trust." "I don't want trust," Amara replied calmly. "I want certainty." So she stripped herself of power, status, protection, and walked into the home of a man rumored to be untouchable. Leonard Cade. He wasn't what she expected. Their first interaction was accidental. She was carrying fresh linens down a hallway when a door opened suddenly, and they collided. "I'm sorry," Leonard said immediately, steadying her. Amara froze for half a second. Not because of fear, but because he'd looked directly at her. "It's my fault," she said. He shook his head. "No, you're doing your job. I wasn't paying attention." He noticed the slight redness on her hands. "They didn't give you gloves." "I didn't ask." "That's not how it should work," he said. Before she could respond, footsteps echoed behind him. "Leonard." Vivian's voice cut through the hallway. "Why are you blocking the help?" Amara stepped back instinctively. Leonard's jaw tightened. "She ran into me." Vivian's gaze flicked to Amara, sharp and dismissive. "Then move." Leonard did, but not before saying quietly, "Be careful." Vivian waited until Amara walked away before scoffing. "You're getting soft." "I'm getting observant," Leonard replied. Over the weeks that followed, Amara learned the rhythm of the house. Vivian's moods dictated everything. If she was pleased, staff breathed easier. If she wasn't, no one ate properly. Vivian hosted lunches where she praised generosity and kindness while pinching a maid's arm under the table for pouring water too slowly. "She's beautiful," a guest once whispered about Vivian. "Yes," another replied, "but terrifying." Vivian overheard and smiled. At night, in the kitchen, staff whispered. "She fired Maria for breaking a glass." "She laughed when Thomas begged." "She watches us like entertainment." Amara listened. She said nothing, until one night Mrs. Hahn sat beside her during a rare, quiet moment. "You won't last," Mrs. Hahn said gently. "I will," Amara replied. Mrs. Hahn studied her. "You don't move like the others." Amara met her eyes briefly, then looked away. "I'm careful." Mrs. Hahn nodded slowly. "So was I. Once." Vivian's cruelty escalated when the charity gala was announced. "It has to be perfect," she told the staff, pacing the living room. "Every detail, every flower, every glass polished until I can see my reflection." She stopped in front of Amara. "You'll be there." Amara looked up. "Working." Vivian smiled. "Attending." The room went quiet. As a joke, Vivian continued lightly. "I think it'll be hilarious. Watching people realize how interchangeable you all are." A few guests laughed nervously. Leonard's voice cut in. "Vivian." She waved him off. "Relax. It's charity. We're supposed to uplift the less fortunate, right?" Her eyes locked onto Amara's. "You'll come. Wear something appropriate." That night, the staff surrounded Amara. "Don't go," one whispered. "She'll destroy you," another said. Mrs. Hahn said nothing. She simply watched Amara's face. "I'll go," Amara said. Mrs. Hahn inhaled, sharply. "Why?" Amara hesitated. "Just a second. Because I need to." 2 days later, Leonard found Amara in the library after midnight, organizing shelves no one cared about. "You know she's doing this to humiliate you," he said quietly. "Yes." "Why accept it?" Amara looked at him. "Why allow it?" Leonard didn't answer immediately. "Because if I stop her," he said finally, "she finds other ways." Amara nodded. "Then maybe it's time she didn't." He studied her. "You're not afraid." "I am," she said honestly. "I just don't let it decide." He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "You're not who you pretend to be." She met his gaze for the first time, fully. Calm, measured, unafraid. "And you're not either," she replied. Silence stretched between them. Finally, Leonard spoke. "Whatever you're planning, be careful." Amara gave a small smile. "I always am." The night of the gala arrived. Music, lights, laughter. Vivian stood at the center of it all, radiant, charming, admired. She scanned the room impatiently. Where is she? Vivian asked a server. She hasn't arrived yet. Vivian scoffed. Of course not. Probably hiding. Minutes passed. Guests sipped champagne. Then the doors opened. And the room went silent. The doors didn't just open. They announced her. A ripple moved through the room, first, like air being pushed aside. Then silence. Then the soft, unmistakable sound of heels against polished marble. Vivian turned with a practiced smile already on her face, ready to enjoy whatever awkward entrance her little joke had produced. The smile froze. The woman standing at the doorway was not wearing a uniform. She was dressed in black silk that flowed like liquid, tailored perfectly to her frame. The gown hugged without begging for attention, elegant without apology. Diamonds rested against her collarbone, catching the light with every step she took forward. Not loud, not flashy, just expensive in a way money didn't need to explain. For half a second, no one breathed. Whispers began immediately. Who is that? I've never seen her before. Wait, is that? Vivian's fingers tightened around her champagne flute. That's not funny, she muttered, scanning the room for laughter that didn't come. Who let her in like that? Leonard stood near the back of the room. He didn't move. He simply watched. Amara walked forward slowly, calmly, as if she belonged there. As if she had always belonged there. Guests parted instinctively. People stepped aside without realizing why. There was something about the way she moved, not rushed, not hesitant, that made others adjust around her. Vivian recovered enough to laugh sharply. Well, look at that, she said loudly. She cleaned up nicely, didn't she? A few nervous chuckles followed. Amara stopped several feet away. She didn't bow her head. She didn't smile. Good evening, she said evenly. Vivian tilted her head. I said wear something appropriate. I didn't say pretend to be someone you're not. Amara glanced around the room, taking in the chandeliers, the gowns, the practiced smiles. Then she looked back at Vivian. I am dressed appropriately, she said, for who I am. The murmurs grew louder. Vivian scoffed. Oh, please. You think a dress changes what you are. Amara's gaze softened. Not with weakness, but with something closer to pity. No, but it does change what you're about to realize. Leonard stepped forward. Vivian, he said calmly, maybe let her speak. She turned on him. Don't start. This is my event. Yes, Leonard replied. But it's her moment. Vivian laughed, sharp and brittle. Her moment? She's deaf. Amara reached into the small clutch she carried. Slowly, deliberately, the room leaned in without realizing it. She placed a slim black card on the table between them. A man near the front picked it up first. His eyebrows lifted. Oh, he said quietly. Another guest leaned over. What is it? The man swallowed. It's a Helix Meridian executive card. The murmurs turned into gasps. Vivian stared. That's impossible. Amara met her eyes. Is it? Leonard spoke, voice steady. She's telling the truth. The room erupted. Questions flew. Names were whispered. Phones discreetly appeared. Vivian shook her head, laughing again, louder this time. This is ridiculous. Leonard, tell them this is a joke. Leonard didn't look at her. It's not. The color drained from Vivian's face. You knew. Yes. How long? Long enough. Amara took a breath, then turned to the room. Her voice carried, without effort. My name is Amara Cole. I'm the founder and CEO of Helix Meridian Group. Silence slammed down. For the past 3 months, I've worked in this house as a maid. Gasps. Shock. Confusion. I cleaned floors. I served drinks. I stayed silent while being insulted. She paused. Not because I had to, but because I wanted to see who people were when they thought no one important was watching. Vivian snapped, "This is insane. You're lying." Amara turned back to her. "You called me interchangeable. You laughed when staff cried. You invited me here as entertainment." She gestured around the room. "This is your audience. Say it again." Vivian's mouth opened. Nothing came out. Amara continued, her voice calm but firm. "Dignity has nothing to do with job titles." A ripple of agreement moved through the guests. "You treated people like furniture," Amara said, eyes locked on Vivian. "And tonight you invited me as a joke." She leaned in slightly. "You didn't humiliate me. You exposed yourself." Vivian's voice finally broke through, shrill. "Get her out. Leonard, do something." Leonard stepped beside Amara. "No," he said quietly. Vivian stared at him. "You're choosing her over me?" Leonard's expression didn't change. "I'm choosing truth." The crowd watched, frozen, as Vivian realized something far worse than humiliation. She had lost. Amara turned back to the room. "This partnership," she gestured subtly, "will proceed, but with conditions." A few executives nodded eagerly. "Every worker in every property connected to this deal will be paid fairly, protected, respected." Applause broke out. First tentative, then louder. Vivian stood alone in the center of it all, invisible for the first time in her life. Leonard didn't look at her as security approached. "You humiliated yourself," he said quietly. "I just stopped protecting you from the consequences." The gala ended early. In the weeks that followed, the fallout was swift. Vivian's name vanished from invitations. Whispers followed her instead. Sponsors pulled away. Friends stopped calling. Leonard filed for separation, without drama. Amara returned to her world, but not unchanged. At a public forum months later, she stood on a simple stage, dressed plainly again. No diamonds. No spectacle. "I didn't learn humility," she said to the crowd. "I learned clarity." She paused. The world doesn't change when people discover who you are. It changes when they remember how they treated people they thought didn't matter. Applause filled the room. Somewhere in the audience, former staff members from Ravenscourt Estate stood together, heads held high. Leonard watched from the back. When their eyes met, there was no rush, no fantasy, just mutual understanding. Respect earned. If this story moved you, if it made you think, hit like, subscribe for more powerful stories like this, and tell us in the comments. Do you believe power reveals character or creates it? Because stories like this remind us, true worth can never be hidden.